friends. Welcome to the Creative Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Caldwell, and I'm so happy you're here. Each episode, I take some time to chat with fellow artists about life, faith, and the impact of the arts. Happy September, everyone. I don't know about you, but I am really excited about this shift of seasons and getting more into fall, even though it's still in the 90s here in Texas, but definitely excited for the cooler weather that's hopefully coming soon. If you're new to the podcast, thank you so much for listening, and I hope that this brings inspiration and encouragement in your day. It is such a gift to connect with listeners, and I would love to hear from you. Creative Impact Podcast is on Instagram and Facebook, and you can also email me at creativeimpactpodcast@gmail.com. I'm so excited to introduce you to today's guest, Leyna Doran. Leyna and I know each other from our time at Belhaven University, and it was such a joy to get to reconnect with her today. Leyna is a professional dancer and also is currently the artistic director of Ballet Hartford, which is located in Connecticut. Leyna shares some incredible stories about God's provision to help her be able to train in dance and end up going to college for dance, and then after that transitioning from college to a professional career as a dancer. I was so encouraged by Leyna's honesty and vulnerability in sharing what it's been like stepping into the artistic director role and feeling unqualified, but seeing that God qualifies those that He calls. I love Leyna's heart for leading with joy and excellence, and her encouragement to each of us to really lean into the importance of rest. Enjoy this conversation with my friend Leyna Doran. Leyna, I am so excited to have you on the podcast. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, we were just kind of reminiscing before we hit record and thinking back to the last time we saw each other. And I was like, what year do you think that was?
I think it might have been 2016.
Okay.
That I went.
Maybe
yeah.
so.
Yeah, I mean, definitely our time at school.
Yes.
Did you graduate 2013?
2012.
2012.
Were you 2013?
Okay. I was 2014.
Okay. So we overlapped like
a couple years there. Yeah. It's so cool.
Uh-huh.
And then, the Odd Day Intensive that I saw you at, I think was 2016.
Okay, that makes sense. So I probably wasn't even like there with them anymore, but I was just there taking class for the intensive, which was cool.
Oh my gosh, that's so great. Wow. Well, it's so good to see you again.
So good to see you too. I'm so glad we get to catch up, and what better way than sharing it with the world? That'll be awesome. Yeah, it's so cool, like following each other a little bit on social media and seeing kind of glimpses of what you've been doing, but I can't wait to hear more in depth where you've been the last multiple years.
Yeah.
So
definitely, it's going to be so fun.
Yeah. So do you want to just kind of give a brief overview of like who you are and where you are right now? And then we'll kind of go backwards and get your backstory.
Yeah, I'd love to. So currently I'm the artistic director of Ballet Hartford, which is a professional ballet company in Hartford, Connecticut. And that I'm new to this position as of, actually, this is my 4th season. I can't believe it. I'm entering my 4th season. So maybe I can't use that I'm new to this position thing anymore. But it still all feels very new. There's still so much to learn. But yeah, I've been artistic director and dancing with the company since the fall of 2019. And prior to that, I had danced with the company when it was founded by Betsy McMillan, who I think you probably know from Belhaven.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So shout out to Betsy.
So wonderful. So yeah, she founded the company in 2016. And so I danced with her through her whole time directing it, and then ended up taking over when she moved back to Houston at the start of the 2019 season. So yeah, it's been a fun, crazy, cool ride. God's been good in so many ways, and I've learned a lot through it for sure. But that's currently where I am. My husband and I both live outside of the Hartford area, so we're pretty close to it.
Awesome. And where is your husband from? Just curious.
He's actually from Connecticut.
Oh, cool.
So after Belhaven, I moved to Connecticut to dance with a company called Ecclesia Contemporary Ballet, and he was there dancing. So we got to, he was my favorite partner, and we got to meet dancing together, which was really special. He had grown up. Ecclesia was birthed out of a church. So he had grown up in that church and danced through the school for many years and then eventually danced with the company. And so we were there together 2 seasons before we both transitioned. And sadly, he transitioned out of dancing and is into the world of mechanics and works for an aerospace company right now.
Oh, wow.
But I still
Cool.
try to rope him into some things whenever I can.
That's amazing.
Yeah, this past summer we were in Project Dance Hawaii and they needed a few more dances for, the open air concert that they do on the Saturday of the Project Dance event. And
Yeah.
so I was able to tug Jeremy and be like, "Hey, we should let's help them bring more reps." So he
Oh,
really graciously did dance with me, but the times are very few and far between
that is so
that
sweet, though. I
he'll
love
be on
it.
stage. But yeah, it's very gracious of him.
And by the way,
Yeah.
Project Dance Hawaii was probably incredible. I interviewed Tammy beforehand,
Oh my
and it was so
gosh.
fun just hearing about what that was going to be like. And did y'all stay for the leaders
Yeah.
retreat as well?
We did, yeah, and got to meet Tammy for the first time while we were there. I'd heard about her, but had never met her, and she is just a powerhouse and
She
so
is.
joyful. I'm sure you had an excellent time chatting with her.
Yes, she's amazing.
Yeah, but oh yeah, that whole event from the Project Dance weekend into the leaders retreat was just so filling. I feel like it was an incredible time because it was a really small. I'm used to going to Project Dance New York is actually the only Project
Yeah.
Dance I had been to, and so that's like a huge one. Dancers from all over just because of the location of it and everything. And so what was
Yeah.
really special about, this celebration of 20 years of Project Dance was that it kind of called together this like smaller family and some people who had just been with Cheryl from like the very beginning of this. And
Aw.
so it was this really special time to just be like, wow, look what God has done, not only through Project Dance, but also through all these people who have, been a part of Project Dance for many, many years. And look at what the Lord's doing through their organization here and here and here. And so I just felt so
Wow.
encouraged by getting to connect with so many like minded artists and then just see, God's kingdom is so broad and just see, wow, he's doing such awesome things in unique, different ways all over. And it was just a really encouraging time. And then Hawaii, of course, is beautiful. So
Yes,
a
not a
lot of
bad
fun things all
location for sure.
around.
That
Yeah.
sounds so incredible, and I'm super grateful that
Mhm.
you got to go. That's so amazing. So, yeah, I'm glad to hear like a recap on the other side. I'll have to talk to Tammy too and see
Right.
how it all went
Yeah.
from
Oh
that
my gosh.
perspective.
Yeah. No team that went into putting on Project Dance, Tammy to everyone involved just did a phenomenal job at just making us feel so welcome, just really ushering in the spirit. I feel like every event we had, whether it was like, an actual worship event or just a time of
Mhm.
chatting, was just so spirit filled. They really did a phenomenal job. So shout out to Tammy and Cheryl and everyone.
Yes, shout out. I love it.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. So I guess now we could kind of rewind a little bit in your story and
Yeah.
how did you first really like get into pursuing dance?
Yeah. Well, I'm one of 7 kids. And so
I don't know that I
when
knew
I
that. That's
was,
so cool.
yeah, there's a lot of us. And
That's awesome.
when I was young, like 5, my mom put me in a dance class with my older sister and then decided, no, this is too much for our family. We're not going to do that. And so I had taken it when I was young. But we were actually all homeschooled. And one of our cousins knew of a woman who had a worship dance troupe. And
Ah,
so, now I've always thought of a pivotal moment for me of combining my faith and dance was at Belhaven. But now that I'm thinking back to the story, it's really interesting that one of the first times I was introduced to dance was through this little worship troupe, basically, where
yeah.
she basically would create dances that we would take to nursing homes or other places to do ministry. And so I did that for a very short time when I was like 8. And then a girl in my homeschooling group when I was 12 who ended up dancing overseas for companies in the Czech Republic and all of that
Oh,
was
wow.
teaching ballet classes out of her garage. And so it was something that was doable. It wasn't far from home. We could afford it and everything. And so I started taking ballet with her then and just immediately fell in love with it. And it
Yeah.
was just, I think the Lord used my journey in ballet as a young, 12-year-old to finishing high school to really show how he will provide for things that he wants to happen. And so
Yeah.
from providing scholarships to studios or summer intensives, or just connecting with different individuals that I had a woman from ABT who just offered to coach me privately for free through my high school experience, which helped me catch up a lot.
Wow.
Just these really
Yeah.
people giving me point shoes, just all of this crazy stuff where he really showed, where I lead, I'll provide. And
Mm,
yeah, I think it really just from a young age really showed me that the Lord, it strengthened my faith for sure, because it wasn't even so much at 12, not being aware of all the finances that went into it. From that time, parents are so
yeah.
wonderful and they really cover that and don't show you the like, I know she needs to go to this intensive. How is that going to happen?
Right.
But showed me like even before I asked, because I wasn't always aware that, oh, this is going to be really tough for my family to swing, that the Lord would provide. So
Mm,
just a really neat picture of him being such a good father that he knows our needs before I even asked for things.
mm.
He had something worked out.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, that's so cool.
but yeah, then it was after at the end of high school that I ended up going to Belhaven University. And that is just a really special story that I got there because I knew of at that time, one Christian dance company, Ballet Mag. And I
Yeah.
was like, I'd seen them perform once. And I was like, oh, mom, I think I really want to do that. And so we actually ended up going to Jackson, and I had wanted to audition at Ballet Mag, and my mom saw that Belhaven was there, and she's like, Leyna, could we just audition here too? And I was like, sure. So
Mhm.
we went to both places, had a wonderful time at both Ballet Mag and Belhaven's audition. And then on the way back, this was spring of 2010, there was a freak snowstorm in Jackson.
Oh,
That year
yeah.
we were like there on Valentine's weekend. And so we were in the airport about to go back to California, where I'm from. And I had been making with my mom a pros and cons list of Belhaven versus Ballet Mag because we just had the experience.
Yes.
Pros and cons list
Fresh
had
on
been
the
a huge part
mind.
of my life with my mom. Yeah, exactly. And there were so many wonderful things about both. It was just like, wow, you go here, you hear all these good things. You go here, you hear great things. How do you know what to do? So anyways, at one point I got up from that list to stretch my legs and check and like see if our plane was going to take off soon. And this beautiful woman came up to me and she said, hi, I happened to notice that you were making a Belhaven versus Ballet Mag pros and cons list. She was like, if you'd like any advice, I actually danced for Ballet Mag and then I teach at Belhaven. And
Is this
I was
Betsy?
like, this was Betsy.
Oh
And
my goodness.
so
Sorry, I'm like jumping the
yeah,
gun here.
yeah, I know. So it was Betsy, and it was so special. And
Oh,
I was able to email her through my senior year as I was finishing up high school, and she kept in touch with me and really just offered me some great advice that was some of the career goals I had that maybe Belhaven would really support. More of a broader opportunity in the dance world than just going to a company where I would be trained in what that company does. And
right.
so, because of her advice, I ended up going to Belhaven. And
That's so cool.
after my senior year at Belhaven, she showed up again because she had, I think, left. She was leaving dance ministry and moving to Connecticut when I was entering Belhaven. And so, my senior year, she came back and was holding auditions for Ecclesia. And it was just this really special full circle thing that I was able to go there and then dance with her for 5 or 6 seasons before she moved back to Texas. So
Wow,
yeah,
that is so cool. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm like, wait a second. I know someone that fits that description.
right,
That's so cool.
exactly,
Yeah. Yeah, she was
yeah.
there my first 2 years at Belhaven, I guess then. And
Okay,
I was like trying to
yeah.
figure out what the timeline was. And I was in dance ministry ensemble with her and just such a
Wow.
beautiful time and learned so much from her. And I remember
Wow.
taking class actually, because I went to the Ballet Mag Intensive and she was there teaching. And I remember learning some rep from her and just, yeah, it's just really cool. Kind of the threads, you know?
It is. It
Mhm.
is. It's always neat to look back and be like, wow, Lord, look at how you were weaving all of this together. And I mean, since that moment of coming to Connecticut, Betsy's really been someone that has been such an incredible role model to me. And I've learned so much from getting to work under her and walk alongside her. And now, picking up the company with where she left, there's just been so much that she has done and paved the way that enables me to do what I'm doing. So I definitely have so much gratitude and respect for her in a myriad of ways. So it's been really special.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
So with your time at Belhaven, I know you mentioned earlier that it was kind of one place where you feel like your faith and dance kind of melded together. Do you want to share a little bit more about kind of what that looked like for you?
Definitely. Yeah. So, yeah, prior to Belhaven, apart from my experience when I was young with this worship dance team, the dance that I had known, the training in ballet was all secular, from secular studios to coaches and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I found out about Ballet Mag my senior year. And that was the first time that I was like, whoa, look, they're like doing legit ballet. And like, these are Bible stories, these are all of these things. So I was really intrigued by that. And then in going to Belhaven, I think something that really started that idea of the two being one was we were asked over and over at Belhaven, no matter what the paper was, or if it was just like a point of self-evaluation, how does your worldview tie into this?
Yeah.
And so that question coming up over and over really helped my brain start to process that, like, okay, this thing that I spend 80% of each day doing, how is this a part of my daily walk with the Lord and my faith in the long run? So, well, I sometimes chuckle because I'm like, all of the answers that I've written to that question over and over, it's kind of hilarious to see over those 4 years, like, our responses to that. But that question really was pivotal in making my brain start to like realize, hey, what I believe and the vocation that I feel that the Lord has led me to really can go hand in hand, and just not only from finding or pursuing excellence in what I do it to glorify Him, but that it in and of itself is a tool for ministry, for worship, for communion with Him, for Him to it's something that's surrendered that He can guide me through, just as He does in other parts of life. Yeah. So it was also during my time at Belhaven that I really felt that, okay, when we're thinking, what are we doing after college? What happens next? That I really felt that the Lord was calling me to a secular company, a secular dance company, to really be light and salt there. And so when there was very clear leading for me to go to Ecclesia, which was a Christian company after school, I was a little bit like, I really thought that my calling was elsewhere, but this leading is very clear. So I went to Ecclesia. Yeah. And then after being there for 2 seasons, Betsy ended up starting a company in Hartford, which became Ballet Hartford, which started off as faith-based, but then I think a season into it, she also really felt that the Lord was saying, hey, if you remove that label, I have a broader impact for you to make. And so I remember when that happened, I just suddenly felt this like whoosh of like, oh my gosh, Lord, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. Like, you've led. I really felt that in college, like you were calling me to a secular company, and then I ended up going to a Christian company, which was a really wonderful, sweet experience. But look at how you've orchestrated things to be like, oh, okay, so this company, is losing that label and is able to do more of like a hidden sort of ministry just by, friendship and walking alongside people and being a light in that way. So that's been really special.
Just taking a quick pause for my conversation with Leyna to share with you about our Patreon community. You've probably heard me mention it before, but our Patreon community is essentially a platform where you can support the show and also get extra content in return. To check it out, you can go to creativeimpactpodcast.com/Patreon. That's spelled Patreon. When you go check out our Patreon community, you'll see that there's bonus content from a variety of episodes, as well as some behind the scenes and discussion posts. Patrons of the show are really what help make this possible. So thank you so much, those that are already supporting, and I'd be so honored if you'd consider supporting the show as well. Another great way to help support the show is just to share the show with a friend. So if you listen to an episode and you think, I feel like this person would be really encouraged by today's episode, if you just send them a quick text, DM, or tag them in the comments, that would be incredible. It really is one of the best ways to help people hear about the show. Thank you for your support. Now back to my conversation with Leyna. So So what was it like for you when you first moved to Connecticut from Belhaven? So I guess you had already done like a relatively big move away from home and like that shift, but it's still within sort of a bit of a
Yeah,
safety net with the school community. So yeah, what was that like moving to Connecticut?
totally. Yeah. So in terms of homesickness, I've always been a homebody. And, we all seven of us were homeschooled. My dad was actually self-employed. So we were just this very close-knit
Oh, that's
family, and
sweet.
I did not want to leave home.
Yeah.
So going to Belhaven was really difficult for me, but it was kind of like, these first steps to be like, okay, like, yes, I miss them and I'll always miss being away from them. But like, when you find community where you're at, like the Lord just fills up so much of that ache
Yeah.
that is there. And so then moving all the way across the country to Connecticut was a little bit more difficult in terms of homesickness, but God's been so gracious that I've been able to go back and visit every year, if not a couple
Oh,
times a year, or
good.
they've been able to come out and see me. So that's been really sweet. But then actually what was special is when I graduated from Belhaven and came to dance here in Connecticut, there were three other people from Belhaven that were also coming to dance here. One of them being Kathleen. I don't know if you remember
Oh,
Kathleen, her
yes.
Hennessy,
Yeah.
but her last name is now Goss. And
Uh-huh.
we were close and we're able to live together. So I went from this sweet little, kind of almost bubble like community at Belhaven to another very similar feeling here in Connecticut. So
That's
that transition
good.
was actually really smooth and sweet in terms of community. I feel like I left one happy family and was joined to another one in the same sort of belief system from being around believers at Belhaven to this company as well. So that was
Mhm.
a really sweet thing. I think probably transitioning from college to a professional company was the most difficult transition of just understanding, just not the etiquette, but what goes into a day of class and rehearsal and preparation. And then I've
Yeah.
been a part of these smaller companies through my professional career. So because of that, with funding that is sometimes scarce for smaller companies, there's this, added thing of, okay, so, you have company, you have rehearsal this portion of the day, and then you go off and work. So I think that transition was probably the most difficult of just growing accustomed to that workload.
Yeah, that's a lot for sure.
Yeah. And also just like a lot of adult, I didn't have a car at Belhaven. So there were some things of like,
Yeah.
just like oil changes and other things that you learn and insurance and all of
Yes.
that just seemed to come as a whoosh
Uh-huh.
after that. But definitely because of the community that I was surrounded with and the friendship and support from my family and all of that, I feel like it wasn't, world ending or anything like that. It just was probably the roughest part of coming out of college was just getting used to, okay, these are the expectations, or these are expectations I had for myself. And now I need to scale back and be like,
Mm.
this is your energy level, or this is what it
Yeah.
feels like after a week of this kind of schedule. So just to be able to know how to best take care of my instruments and everything like that took some time
Yeah.
to really learn and understand. But then you get into the groove and it feels like home.
Yeah, for sure. So what kind of
Yeah.
jobs did you do kind of on the side
Yeah.
of dancing professionally, or have you done maybe?
So I've done waitressing, which is
Nice.
I think one of the big fallbacks, which has been really great. And then apart from that, I did a tiny bit of nannying, but it's mainly always been teaching. So I've been able
Cool.
to teach at the schools that are attached to the different companies that I've danced for. I've had some opportunities to teach at Yale University, has some dance programs that I've taught at, and then I'm
Oh,
teaching at
cool.
Sacred Heart University this year. And then there are just a plethora of dance schools, recreational competition, and more academies in Connecticut that I've been fortunate enough to work with. So in the past few years, it definitely like waitressing and nannying have really, faded. And it's mainly just teaching now and coaching
Nice.
apart from the Ballet Hartford
Yeah.
directing and dancing stuff.
Right. That's so cool. I love just hearing like what the day to day is like for everybody. So in like your years dancing professionally, are there any experiences that stand out to you that you want to share about?
Yeah, I think I've definitely been really blessed in the companies that I've been with and being able to perform rep that I very much resonate with. I think sometimes when you're maybe in companies that are bigger or broader, there's a lot of rep comes through, and there will be maybe throughout your season, like quite a few pieces that you're just like, okay, I'm doing this, but this is not like, my soul is not like crying out as I do this.
Right.
And
Uh-huh.
I feel just, yeah, very blessed in having had opportunity to do a lot of work that I really resonate with, and a lot of work that really I feel has ministered to me personally, whether it's, choreographed by a believer choreographer or not. So I'm
Yeah.
very thankful for that, just to be a part of works that are really life giving and just excellent art. We have had some memorable experiences. I had an opportunity to perform at the White House in
Ooh,
2016, which was just a crazy, incredible opportunity
that is so fun.
being
Yes.
in that house. And we got to have a meal there,
Wow.
being in my, because we were on the marble. So even just like being in like my flat shoes, it felt like I was like, like wearing like socks, or, something that was just like I was at home here. So it was this whole
Yeah.
really surreal sort of experience, but really special. I remember one of the friends who also is a Belhaven graduate, her name's Angela, when we were both getting ready to perform, just like praying into like, wow, this is such a historic institution or landmark within our country. And just to really pray for the Lord, not only, to go before us with his presence, but really to move in our time. We were dancing an excerpt of the Nutcracker, but our God is mighty
Aw.
and he moves through all things. So it was a really special time to connect doing that. Definitely meeting my husband through
Yeah.
dance is a highlight for
Uh-huh.
me. And yeah, there have just been a lot of awesome touring opportunities that have been really special. I just love connecting with other artists. And so there have been a lot of really fun opportunities to go out in our area or in the country and really get to know and see what other people are doing. I find that really encouraging.
Yeah, for sure. So now we kind of, I guess, have gotten to the point in the journey of when you stepped into the role of artistic director at Ballet Hartford. And yeah, I would love to I know it's been like a huge growing experience, it sounds like. So I'd love to hear just, any lessons learned or kind of what that has looked like for you.
Yes, definitely lots of lessons learned. And it has been one that definitely took me by surprise, because I've always just really wanted to dance and didn't really have any career goals or really desire for a position of leadership. And so when this whole transition happened, the Ballet Hartford, when Betsy moved to Houston, the plan was for it to be absorbed by a university that we have a partnership with. And then just a few weeks before the season started, the university was unable to follow through. And Betsy actually called me and said, hey, the company's going to fold unless you want to take over. And after
Wow.
praying about it and talking with my husband, the draw to me really stepping into that position was I just had a lot of compassion for the other dancers who like me. And I know this happens a lot in the arts world, never intentionally, but just sometimes things do have to fold and they can't continue on. But I just had a lot of compassion for other people who were in the same place as myself, like, oh, we're ready to start a season. Let's make a season happen. And so naively, I was just like, oh, I could just schedule class and rehearsal, find some performance opportunities, and then found out, oh my gosh, it's so much more involved than that, Leyna.
Right.
So it's been a huge growing experience, but I definitely just want to say, thank you to people like Betsy and others who have paved the way for this to happen, because
Yeah.
she truly laid so much of the foundation, and the person that she is has really been a role model for, I think, who I am in my leadership. And the year that I took over was the year that COVID hit. So I think
Wow.
there was just a lot of the Lord's perfect timing, and knowing that just as I was starting to get really like, oh, I'm in over my head, I don't know how to, just learning about nonprofit, learning about all of these, crazy tasks that are involved for a small company to be run by one person,
Yeah.
everything slowed down in the world, and
That's
and
true.
all the exterior pressures of, oh well, Betsy would have the company go to this festival or have this choreographer come in. All that exterior pressure was removed because
Mhm.
everything paused, and I had this beautiful time of just really diving deeper into the behind the scenes work of what I needed to learn, what I needed to understand better or get into place so that way the company could move forward. And so that was, yeah, in the spring of 2020. And then because of our small size in the fall of 2020, we were actually able to continue on like in person. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
following various guidelines, but that was just a really sweet thing that because of our tiny size, which I think in my head I'd always been like, oh, long ago, like successful things are big, right? That's what the world tells us.
Right.
And
We tend to
just
think that way. Yeah.
relearning that idea, yeah, that the Lord, the Lord, first of all, works differently, and that there is so much fruit and so much just joy that can come from being this tight knit little smaller community. And for us, that meant during a time where the big companies around us, like City Ballet in New York and Boston Ballet over there in Massachusetts, they had all stopped, and we had people reaching out to us from these companies like, hey, we're looking for opportunity to choreograph or to dance. So it put us in
Yeah.
this just like, it felt like the world had tipped upside down where I was like, wait, you're asking me for for something?
Yeah.
So it was, yeah, a really beautiful thing for us to be able to continue through. And I think it really helped us tie in deeper with our community that we were still able to offer in small ways live performance or class opportunity or just various things that had happened. So yeah, that whole time is something where I look back and I'm like, wow, Lord, look at how you can make beautiful things from ashes.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, this whole experience has been one that's been really humbling. And I think something that's very personal to my relationship with the Lord is in my walk with Him. This hidden one of the things that comes up in my heart is just this pride that
Mm.
either says, oh, Leyna, you're good enough, or you can work hard enough and get that. And I've seen that since I've been young, just like always trying to be this good daughter, or like, yeah, I earned my salvation. So it's been a recurring theme in my
Mhm.
relationship with the Lord. And I think He's used this position of leadership to take it one step further and just really be like, just really humble me in a lot of ways, which I'm so grateful for. And yeah, they're painful at the time, but He has been so gracious and just really shown my dependency on Him.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest things is that just feeling so unqualified for this position that I'm walking in. He's shown, hey, I called you, you said yes, and I'll qualify you because of that. I
Mm.
think there's actually like a saying like God qualifies the called or something
Yes,
like that.
such a
I
good
think there's
saying for
some
sure.
saying about that. But yeah, I think I've really been able to experience that, and it's been really sweet. And yeah, I was really thinking that when I took the position that it's just for a year, everyone will go audition, we'll all find something else, and that will be it. And then the pandemic hit, and I found myself still in the position and wanting to keep the vision alive. And I think, I really loved the heart of what Betsy had started with this company. And another friend from Belhaven, this hub of connecting us
Yes.
all, Hannah Bush, actually
Oh,
came
yeah.
my second year as director and really stepped in just as this right hand person who has helped lighten the load, helped encourage me,
Aw.
push forward, do all of these incredible things. And over these past couple seasons, while I still need to do things like 5 years from now, do I want to be doing this? Like, Lord, what is your plan for
Yeah.
me? A lot has really just settled in my heart of God, I'm really grateful and honored that you've given me this platform right now. And I definitely didn't feel that way at first. Like the idea of leadership was just like, run
Yeah.
away. But the Lord has just birthed so many things within me that have grown me as His daughter. And one of the biggest things that I think that I've really enjoyed about being artistic director is the opportunity that I have to cultivate community.
Mm.
And just, I really always loved having people over, seeing community grow through relationship. And so, something that God's been so gracious to allow us to have at Ballet Hartford is just this community of transparency, of trust, of really sweet relationship. And praise God, no drama or anything, just
Yeah.
a lot of and it's all women for the most part. We have guest artists occasionally, but women who just really support each other. And two of the tenets that we've continued on in that began during Betsy's time of just that how joy and excellence can go hand in hand.
Ooh, I
And though
love
we're
that.
working at this art form that can sometimes, be very self-critical, very negative, or can have just a lot of unhealthy tradition that has just been passed down, that we have this amazing opportunity to be like, no, that's not going to have a place here, even though we're not, a Christian environment. We do have a lot of believers, about 90 or maybe 80% of the company are believers, that we have this opportunity to set the temperature of what this is going to be. And so that I think has been most special to me during these past few years. Through all the hardship and the huge learning curves, that each day when I go in, I'm excited to be around this group of women that are my friends, that encourage me, that inspire me, that are just incredible people.
That's so good. And yeah, I love hearing kind of where you're at now and how God has brought you to this place, and excited to see how things continue to grow and develop over the next, whatever the season is that God has you there, super cool. So yeah, very awesome. Well, as we wrap up, I love asking everyone that comes on the show, is there something that you want to share with other artists right now? So anything that might be on your heart.
Definitely. I had something written down. So
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
While you're grabbing that, it's fun because I just recently interviewed Jessie Winters again. And she was like, you have to talk to Leyna. I was like, yes, I have to talk to Leyna. So she's the one that kind of helped me like connect the dots and be like, yes.
That's so sweet. Oh my gosh. In this past year or so since she's done Open Sky Connecticut, gotten to know her, and she's amazing.
She's super awesome. I feel like she's a kindred spirit.
Yes, she totally is. Every time that I get to talk with her, I'm like, I just love to talk with you more.
Yes.
She is so wonderful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what I'd like to share is just something that I'm learning right now about rest. Just that in the midst of this culture that tells us, if you work hard enough, if you do all these things, like it's our American go-getter achieve mode, that I realize has become, ingrained in some of the ways that I think, that the Lord has really used rest, whether it's him really forcing me to rest or me getting the message a little earlier on and stopping before I'm forced to, that not only, does he from the very beginning show us how important rest is in the story of creation, but he uses it as such an amazing thing to remind me of my dependency on him, to really fill me and restore relationship, not only with him, but just with life sometimes, when it can just be too much to be like, I'm so overwhelmed, I guess I just have to keep plugging through. Yeah. And overall, I think it's really just that dependency that it reminds me of, like, Lord, you are doing this. And by me taking that second to pause and rest, whether it is in the midst of a really busy season or even in the midst of a class where I'm like, Leyna, just take a breath for a second, that he really helps me remember that everything is in his timing and by his grace and his mercy. And so going back to that part of my story where it's like, okay, I can earn it, I can work enough. The reminder of rest and the action of actually resting helps me see, Lord, this is all a gift. Everything that you're allowing to have happen where I am right now, it's that reminder of it's just an incredible grace and a gift. So yeah, just I think sharing with fellow artists to enjoy rest and to welcome rest and to not shy away from it. And the Lord teaches us so much through that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. So good. Thank you for that. I think that'll really speak to everybody. I know I need it too. So just the reminder, I think it's like we kind of know, but we don't really actually do it. So, or take time to welcome rest. So good. Well, the other fun question just can be whatever you want is, what is one of your favorite things right now?
Ooh, well, tea is always one of my go-tos because I love tea. And here in New England, we're having like one of our first kind of rainy, overcast days right now. And so it's like fall is around the corner. I'm going to be able to drink tea all day and not feel weird because it's the middle of summer.
Exactly.
But actually, I've always loved reading, and I've been able to read a few good books this summer. So
nice.
tying into that rest theme. So yeah. That's been really great.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Leyna, this has been so incredible. I love that we got to reconnect and just so cool to hear about everything that's happening at Ballet Hartford. And I would love to connect people in. So what's the best way for them to connect with you and also with Ballet Hartford?
Definitely. Yeah. Through our website, ballethartford.com, or through, you can find Ballet Hartford at Ballet Hartford on Instagram or Facebook. Those are usually the easiest ways to reach us. And then through any of those platforms, you'll find, opportunity or email addresses to be able to reach out via email. But thank you so
Awesome.
much, Rachel. This has been such a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. That was so much fun getting to connect with Leyna. Isn't she just the sweetest and so wise? I loved hearing her heart for leadership and am so encouraged by her journey. You can find all of the links, the full show notes, and additional resources on our website, creativeimpactpodcast.com. Thank you so much again for listening to the Creative Impact Podcast. The music for the show was produced by Michael Cash. Don't forget to share the show with a friend, check out our Patreon community, and remember, you were designed to create, you were made to inspire. Continue living with purpose and making an impact. See you next time, friends.